media manager, there's a rich legacy with the workshop, and it's really hard just through posting on Instagram or Facebook, highlighting the legacies of everyone that's involved, whether it's the faculty, team leaders, or students that come through. And I wanted to explore this format because it's a true way we get to sit down and get to know the people that are involved and contribute to the legacy. And so it's sort of grown into this thing that we're here while we're here today. And so again, we're grateful for you to make time and share for everybody.
Happy to do it.
Awesome. And then I know before I press record too, again, I know I've said it to you before and I'll get it out before Yvonne starts yelling at me. But no, I'm like, this is full circle for me, like going back through in 2010 and having you as a team leader, and then to be able to sit with you here now is surreal to me. And so again, thank you for that.
I just love the evolution of everyone who's come through here and how far they've come. Honestly, some of the success stories from this workshop it's so awesome, and I'm just so glad to have been included. To be honest with you, over these years, not lying about that. It's a blessing.
100%. Yeah, it's incredible. And again, so to stay on track, I'll go ahead and I'll introduce, I'll welcome you to the podcast, and however you'd like to respond with that, and then we'll just go from there. Awesome. And Al, I'd like to welcome you to the Long Roll podcast.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's great to be part of it, and I can't wait to talk to you guys today.
Yeah, no, I know we're excited. I know it's something we've chatted about for a while, but something I know we're curious about is, where is Al today? You always travel all over the world. You're working different events. Where are you at today?
I'm in my basement in my little bunker where I have my little office, and I'm off today. So you got me on a great day on Long Island where I live, and yeah, that's nothing great. It's where I live. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because you work so much, a day off has to feel like far and few between. So what does a day off look like for you?
Well, I mean, I just got finished. You really want to know? I got finished. Behind me, I have my little makeshift gym, and I just finished that, and then I just went from there to here and sat down. What I will do after this is probably pre-plan some shooting things I got coming up, work on some second edit stuff, and a lot of just boring stuff. I might go out to eat tonight with my family and after work tomorrow. So yeah, that's my day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's awesome. Again, it's about balance, because you're always doing high octane things and you're capturing incredible moments in history, and to be able to just sit back, decompress, and recharge your batteries before you go out again, I think is a testament to you. And I think it also shares with people that aspire to get what you've achieved, to maintain that balance for themselves, regardless of the success that you're at.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's about to get busy for the. I'll be gone most of March, but I am savoring this little time locally, and and there's nothing. Actually, I really embrace working locally. It is. You can get just as much done, honestly, and probably easier if you just embrace being local. You don't have to travel across the world, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's part of the job, a lot of it.
And so for you, is this like where you grew up, like as a child? Are you around the same area or close to it?
Until I was 25, I lived in Brooklyn. I grew up there. I spent my whole childhood there. And again, when I was 25, I moved to Los Angeles for almost 3 years, and then came back to Queens, and then got out on Long Island, and started a family and all that. And I've been here on Long Island since 1996. So that's whatever that year's is. Yeah.
So, and yeah, definitely speeds by. And so, well, I guess like one of the first few questions that I know we traditionally like asking is like the origin story. In a sense, is can you share? Can you remember your earliest memories of photography?
As far as recognizing a photograph that makes me stop, like, and look.
Or just in general, like, do you like? Is there a grandparent or your father, or is there someone that maybe like you were exposed to photography before you ended up doing it later as a professional?
I think, I looked at, thinking about this question. I think it relates more to a photograph rather than taking pictures. For me, it was a photograph of my mother when she was 21, and it's just a nice picture of her looking off and in thought, and it made me think, what were you thinking about? And she never told me, actually. And I always wondered, because I asked. I was like, "Ma, what were you thinking about?" And she said, "Nothing. No, I was just thinking." And my dad took the picture, right? And he had a little moment in time where he bought a camera, and I never touched it or anything, but he did. I wound up going through some archive stuff in my house, and there's some slides, and I found the picture of my mom, and she just, yeah, made me think. And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And then later on is when I might have been exposed when I was in fifth grade to my teacher. He put this makeshift darkroom together when I was 11, and then left it. And I had a brief exposure in high school again in a creative hybrid photo class. Left it again. I played sports and then continued playing sports in college. Left it till the end of college, and took one class that they offered at my school, an intro to photography, and picked it up again. And that's kind of the origin story. It's boring, but that's,
Yeah.
I could show you the picture. It hangs up in my office. That's got me thinking. I don't know if you want me to grab it.
Well,
But
yeah, no, if you could grab that, I'd love to see that.
sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, so it's that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
it was in the 60s. She was 21,
Hmm.
and anyways, it got me thinking, like, what were you thinking? So that's, if you're going to listen to this on the radio, on the podcast, you're not going to know what I just showed you. But if it is on video, then that was it. Yeah, my dad took it.
We'll
Yeah.
definitely try to get that shared up there in the highlights for sure. And well, to me, it's interesting. I think everyone's beginnings, I always see when I speak to them, ways it connects to where they eventually got to where they're at today. And then listening to some interviews that you've done before, I know that I think you were a waiter at one time. I think Janiqua, I know you were a waiter, and you've had some other career paths that you had opportunities to pursue, but you eventually landed on photography. Was there a defining moment amongst
Yeah.
all these different decisions that you knew that photography was going to be your path?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes and no. Yeah, I was on a waiter. I was a busboy. I was on the salad bar.
Okay.
There was this
Okay.
defunct
Okay.
chain of restaurants. It was called Beefsteak Charlie's on the East Coast. I don't know if anyone grew up in the '80s knows, but it was just it was a chain, like Fridays or Chili's or whatever.
Mhm.
It's just along the same lines. And I worked as a busboy. I was 15. Did that. I worked in a video store for years. I roofed houses. I did tarring foundations. Nothing to do with photography, but anything to make money, to get out, through college and stuff. And then when I took that class, and I know what it was, when I photographed the guys on my play football, and the guys on my team, I would photograph them. I'd bring my camera to practice and show them pictures that I took, that I printed out. And I think the reaction, the smile, the appreciation of seeing themselves in action was what got me. And I went, you know what? I made somebody happy. And I think that's what turned me. In the meantime, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I took the fireman's test to be a firefighter here in New York, and got on the list and got out of school. And I was waiting to see what would happen. It could have went one way or the other, and
Yeah.
I wound up getting a darkroom job at a publishing company that put out a boxing magazine and some wrestling magazines, and I wound up taking that because that came first, and that was my destiny from there. And it's strange how the fork in the road. I
Yeah.
was waiting to see what would happen, and the fire department went this way and I went that way. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting, especially the darkroom thing. Like that's a job that really doesn't exist, too much anymore. And
Nope.
so what kind of lessons do you think you got from that? And what do you think people are missing out by not having those experiences now?
How people are missing out is well, how do I say missing out? I think the replacement now is being able to edit other people's photos in a way, because I was seeing work from around the country come in, and I was processing all the boxing and wrestling events that happened, whatever, that week. And 8 hours a day, I was in the dark. And at night, I would go out, or on the weekends, they'd let me go out and shoot boxing or photograph a wrestling show and whatever. And this was way back in 1990, maybe late '89. And but it taught me to just, to to just be patient, because I didn't want to be there. Honestly, I didn't want to be doing that, but I used it to my advantage in that I would process my own work. I had free film to use. I had all this access to this, state of the art darkroom that I used in my off time for myself. And so I guess the thing for anyone coming in is to use whatever you got to your advantage in some way, shape, or form. And the replacement for darkrooms these days is, again, I guess going through people's raw take and being able to remote edit. That's a thing
Mhm.
now. Remote editing actually makes you money, and you could sit in your basement, you could sit at home, and remote edit for an agency. And again, I work at Getty Images, and we hire freelance remote editors all the time to edit events for us. And I know other agencies do that as well. So
Does your personal relationship with these editors, are they like a determining factor in like the kinds of images of yours that they select and get published? Is that important, like to establish that relationship with these editors, even though that they're remote?
what happens is, I mean, at least with my agency, we will be, if I don't know who it is, they'll say, introduce, this is so and so. He or she will be editing your game or event on
Hmm.
Saturday, the 23rd or whatever. And these are the numbers. And what I'll do first is call up, say, hey, so and so, nice to talk to you. And, let's talk about what's going to happen. So most of the time it's people I know. Not everyone knows, I guess, my style, but I mean, the bottom line is an editor doing an event is obviously, well, not so obviously. You got to tell them sometimes that we're looking for the story and,
Hmm.
important pictures and blah, blah, blah. And, once we get that taken care of, if there's anything specific, I guess a picture that I was working on, or you can see I was working on, if it's not, done correctly or something's not right, I'll call and politely say, hey, I was wondering if you can crop it this way or that way. It's kind of what I was thinking, or it's a little bit too dark or light, whatever. And it's that kind of back and forth. It's a healthy conversation, and most of the time, well, pretty much all the time, it's pretty cut and dry. We're just like, yeah, okay. Oh, I didn't know you were thinking of it this way, or picture within a picture. They're in a hurry,
Yeah.
and these editors
Hmm.
got to work under tough deadlines, and I'm not getting all prima donna on them, because I know I'm not going to bother them till after the event's over, and even if they can't get to it, I'll do it
Hmm.
myself later. Like, if it's not important, like it must be. If it's a defining catch, swing, whatever, then that's going to be taken care of. I mean, the
Yeah.
editors that we hire, I mean, they're very competent that way, and they're able to figure out, they'll follow along online or on television or whatever, and look for those moments. If they don't see it, they'll ask. So that's the kind of back and forth I have. I'm not sure. I'd imagine it's similar with other agencies. I can't speak for anyone else.
No, that's great insight.
Yeah, you hit on something that I wanted to kind of dig into from earlier, like mentioning, you kept going out and shooting boxing matches and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the times people get kind of turned off by the repetitive nature of sports. Can you talk a little bit about why that is so, like, why that's an advantage instead of a disadvantage, and that the lessons that you can learn from shooting the same kinds of events over and over again?
Well, the advantage is that I mean, I don't want to call myself a specialist, because I feel like I can do a few things, but I do shoot a lot of sports. I do, stories within the world of sport, photograph people in sport. A lot of my portraiture is sport related. So, but I'd like to also think that I'm just looking to take pictures. And that's how I approach a sporting event, as opposed to I'm going to a baseball or football game. To me, it's I'm going to go look for some pictures that I want to take. And if it's a press conference, if it is a Olympics, if it is a big fight, if it is whatever it is, if I'm, doing a 6-month project story, every day that I go out, I'm thinking, oh, how can I get a good picture out of this? Sometimes I'm in a team atmosphere where I get put in a position that is not movable. And again, I'm just thinking, what can I do here to have fun, and also get my job done? So I think that's the thing that people get away from when they're just going from event to event to event, same game after the other. If they're feeling stale, then I would always think, well, move your position, or if you're able to try something else, then try it. That's the beauty of photographing something over and over again. You're able to recognize, the sport that you're photographing, understand the rules, pick up tendencies, things like that. Whereas if you jump into an event you have no idea about, well, then you're playing catch up, And then if I do find myself in that situation, well, then I'm the one asking 1,000 questions. I'm the one who's the rookie, and I'm the one who's going to go, listen, what's the deal here? I've never been in this stadium. Who's the team photographer? Let me find the local person here. Or, yeah, give you an example. I did a Buffalo Chiefs playoff game, and I don't find myself up in Buffalo often, but there I was. And the local photographer that we used there, I knew nothing where to go in. Like that's on me, to find that out. And not that photographer to call me and say, this is the deal, because, I don't want to put that on them. So I reached out to this photographer. I said, hey, I'm coming in this weekend. Tell me everything if you can, just so at least I can get kind of up to speed of where to go. Where is Taylor Swift sitting? Like things like that. Like, where would she be?
Right.
Where is the box? And I had to ask, because I don't know. Where do they usually sit them? And how to find that out. So, ask questions is what I would tell anyone. If you don't know, don't be afraid to ask questions, because I do it every day.
No, curiosity, I know, has definitely been a huge part of my success in my professional career path, is because I feel like as long as you're genuinely curious, you're going to ask questions, you're going to be interested, and it's going to eventually lead to a successful outcome. Like, we don't know what that success is going to look like specifically, but we're going to come out on the other side with the goods that we need to deliver. And so I know I share a lot of that. I know with my younger troops in the Air Force, and then we also teach like at a DoD workshop, is curiosity is the foundation, regardless of the tool that you have in your hand and the technology that you're using. The curiosity is going to lead you to the story, and it's going to tell itself. But something I'm interested with what you've shared in the past about embracing technology, because I have a two-parter. First is like being part of the transition of film to digital as a sports shooter. What was that like? Because for me, I was the first all digital class in the Air Force or in the DoD. They got rid of film. Any kind of film training stopped right before me. And then the rapid evolution of that technology has been incredible, and the efficiency and everything. And so for you, I guess, first question when it comes to the technology, how was that transition from film to digital?
It was, I remember it pretty vividly. It was a tough transition, only for the reason that digital wasn't good for a long time. The quality of the images were pretty terrible,
Pretty bad.
actually.
They were really bad.
Admittedly, it was a rough start, and I fought it tooth and nail. Actually, probably, I want to say, I mean, I think did some film assignments as far as 2000, and I really fought it. And once things turned, it might have been whatever series cameras all 3-4 platforms were using, and I mean the different camera companies that were lead the industry. I don't want to put one in front of the other, but all of
Right.
them, let's just
Right.
say, right? Once that turned and I started seeing good, better quality and, things where, for instance, frames per second, like if I'm photographing a fight and
Right.
there's a knockdown and all of a sudden you hear tukunk, tukunk, dunk, and
Right.
then
Mm-hmm.
while the guy is being counted out, that's happened to me, and I was like,
Jeez.
I would go back on the horn going, you see, this is why we can't do, digital, blah, blah, blah. And, the quality's crap and this is dark and, all this stuff it was legitimate gripes, right? But,
Yeah.
these are the growing pains that you go through with every transition in whatever medium you're shooting. So I will honestly tell you, and I will say this until, I can't talk anymore. I do not miss shooting film for a second. I do not miss the
Wow.
process. I do not miss anything about it. Really, maybe the result on certain types of film, but the process. I mean, we were bringing, all this chemistry and apparatuses to dry the film and to events, and trying to secure a darkroom area, and most of the time it was stadium bathrooms, where public bathrooms where people were going to the bathroom. And I was just talking to somebody about this, and it was terrible. Plus, your shooting time gets cut in half, right? I mean, so because you're processing, if you're a one person band, you're working alone, let's say, or maybe with one other person, your time is taken during those periods of trying to transmit. And back early 20 minutes for one photo to go through, that's 20 minutes of game time. So you wind up shooting like a quarter of whatever if you're doing a live event.
Yeah.
And then you maybe come in for the end and like, what am I doing here? So that's how it was during film. And now it's phenomenal. Like I go back to thinking, all right, yeah, there is a lot to do, don't get me wrong, but it still revolves around me taking pictures and me concentrating on what I feel I do best. Yeah. So that is, I don't even know where we started with this, but that is now how where
the PTSD of the film process.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't miss it. I don't miss it. No.
Well, I appreciate your passion with it. I mean, I got carried away with it myself, thinking about, again, the first digital, because we started out, again, not to be too specific with the platform of the camera maker, but going above an ISO of 400 almost made it unusable, which is why you think about that now. It's like you go into like 128,000. And I can only imagine being like shooting an event indoors for boxing and the lighting conditions being lower. It's like, I could imagine the stress of knowing that regardless of how talented I am, I'm limited based off of what this is going to produce for me. And it doesn't reflect me as a photographer. So it would be frustrating for sure. I could picture that.
Right. Because at the end of the day, right, anyone who takes a picture and puts it out, your name's on there. The editor's name isn't on there. Your whoever might have ran the disc or the film, his name is not on there. The the agency that either processes when it was filmed, your name's on that photo. And if it's a crappy picture, for whatever reason, whoever's going to look at it on that and go, you know what? That's a crap picture, so
right.
That hurts, man.
That hurts.
So,
Right.
and I hear it, you hear it every, you judged every day on your last day of taking a photo. There is no leeway really. So, if I know I had an off night or whatever, I know it, and it's out there. And sometimes you got to do whatever your best is may not be good enough, right? I have trouble accepting that, but that's life. Nobody's perfect. So. But if you know that you can do better because you're limited by the technology that you're using in your hands, and back then you were limited, you really had to think about when you were going to press that button. And it helped me to a certain extent because coming from the film world, one thing I'll say positive is that you have a roll of film that's 36 frames. I'm not the first person to tell you there's no revelation, but you really had to think in your head, okay, I shot, blah, 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 this is happening. I feel like I went through half a roll. I got a little bit left until I have to listen to the, camera rewind. That takes time. And, you've got to also process this film. So you got to think about the time invested in processing the film afterwards, right? So once digital came, and even now, like I'm teaching a class in college, I teach college photojournalism now as well on the side. So I was just telling the kids yesterday, you have the advantage of taking a photo, figuring out, is your exposure right away. If you're working on a photo and you got it, you can go to the next thing. And that helps speed up the process and work on different photos. And everyone's so successful now because of that. And the only way you're going to either stand out or get ahead or is by using your brain, and how you can see the world through your photos, right? Once you get the picture that your client is requiring, or set of photos or whatever, once you get that done is when you go, okay, well, maybe there's something I wanted to do, and you work on that. And that's how I approach my job.
Yeah. So I guess talking about how we're all judged by our work, like you really elevate stress when it comes to the challenges you put in front of you, how you want to capture some of your photography, whether it's your aerial work or multiple exposure or your underwater stuff. Can you share, is there a specific shoot you can think of where you've really set up the technical challenge in front of you, or it was the most difficult to accomplish?
I'm going to say, and I don't do as much as I did. I've kind of moved into a couple of different things, but there was a time where I was pretty heavily involved in doing underwater event work. And the evolution of the underwater system of cameras has been equally as painful as sometimes the early digital. And I could name a million things that have gone wrong for me that I've invested time I'll never get back. I could probably live, a couple extra years if I told you all these things, but flooded cameras, dead batteries, lost connection, gears broken, holding my breath for a certain amount, like things like that. Have gone, anything that's gone wrong in underwater work, I've experienced it. And I'm not the only one either. So again, not woe is me, woe is us, because it's part of the development of finding someone who could help build the camera system or I'm sorry, the housing system for the camera. But again, leaps and bounds, here we are, the systems that the companies are using now are, I could sit, and I'm not, how do I say this? I could put someone in front of a computer poolside and say, this is your joystick, this is how it works. And the camera is placed by a experienced diving team that does all this, at these big events. And, we're overhauling systems like every couple of years, and, whatever new system's in now, going into the Paris Olympics in the summertime of 24, we feel pretty good about what's happening right now with the underwater system. I'm kind of a little bit out of it, but when you talk about the struggles and technically difficult things, it does come with that. I think also doing some underwater work with flash photography, that's really technically challenging. Getting the flashes to all go off underwater or sink, or trying to get the slaves to work, things like that in the past. And especially when you have the athlete in front of you and nothing's working. And I remember like yesterday, I had Michael Phelps, who was doing a shoot once, and we're in this pool. First of all, he's 6 foot, 6 or whatever, 7. And the pool they give me is 4 feet tall, right? So now trying to get him underwater, I'm like, are you kidding me? So he's like scrunched down with his arms forward, and I've got this, these lights set up, and I press the button, no flashes go off. And I'm with, an assistant that, is really good. We're pretty good together. Can't figure it out, and he's like, dum-de-dum-de-dum, what's going on? And I'm starting to get cold, and God bless him, he's very patient. But that feeling, like you ever sweat in a pool? I've done it. I've sweated. I've been in wet, with my wetsuit on, sweating to death, just going, what the heck is going on here?
What's going on?
Fortunately, we switched out a straw, whatever it was, we figured it out.
Yeah.
Another one was with, her name is, she's a golfer, Lexi Thompson. She's a very accomplished, I think she's accomplished female golfer, and she's on the circuit, and she's really good and very popular. And she had this idea of doing it. She wanted to do this golfing picture underwater. Same thing.
I saw that.
We we rented out a pool, and we get to the pool, and the day before everything was fine. We're like, yeah, okay, this will work. And the day of the shoot, we get to the pool, and it looks like someone spilled 18,000 gallons of milk in the pool. And
Jeez,
and I'm like,
sabotage.
what is this? And it's in Miami, and it's giant crew, and again, flash, set up, whole bit, and once again, that feeling and I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and grind through this. We're going to see if we can, what we can do. I can't see my hand in front of my face, guys. I
Oh,
swear.
jeez.
And so Lexi is, again, she's trying to be the professional, and I'm trying to be calm. And after a while, I went over to the art director, and I was like, I can't see anything. I go, this is bad. And long story short, who did I call? I can't remember if I called or someone called next door. In Miami, there one hotel after the other has a pool. They're
Right.
like, come on over. They kicked out the whole public, and immediately we took a whole operation and ran across the street. I was, running with gear, like in my wetsuit with flippers over. It was just the whole thing. And
That's
we
wild.
ran over to the other pool. Everybody's like taking the sun, and like, what the hell is this? Little circus coming over. And then we plopped in that pool, which was clear. We reset up, got ourselves together. And yeah, talk about stress on a big job. Those are two little instances where that happened. There's been Olympics where my housing is flooded, and the race was lost, or very frustrating things, and we've all been through it. So again, I'm not complaining, but you asked like some stressful times. These are some stressful moments for me that I will never ever forget. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
can
can
go
only
on and on.
imagine.
Yeah, I
I
can go
love
on
it.
and on.
I love it.
I would love to hear more, but I can only imagine, we know you as the photographer, but we don't know you as the teacher, the professor. So I remember hearing you speak at the Eddie Adams workshop where I was a student, and it was just inspiring to like hear, all of your experiences like at the Olympics and stuff, but also to see the creative part of what you bring to the work. Because, again, when people approach it like it's repetitive, then it looks that way. But for your pictures, they all are unique and they have a different like feeling to them. So why is it so important for you to give back in the way that you do? You mentioned being an adjunct professor and also like mentoring at the workshops and stuff like that. Why do you feel the need to do that, and what drives you to want to do that more?
That's an easy answer. It's simply because I remember how hard it was trying to break in. I'm not from a traditional school. I didn't, major in it, or my college offered very, very limited, like one class, I think, two classes, and I got into it late, so I had to play catch up, and I had, it's a tough market here. I work in New York, and it's was a lot of old school or good old boys club kind of place, where breaking in as a younger photographer was, they were, I'm not, how else I say, they were mean, they were downright mean, and very, very gruff and very territorial. And as I was going through that process of trying to break in, I just thought to myself, I don't want this to affect me. I don't want to be. I don't want to be these people. I don't want to be these people. And what's sad is a lot of them, and I'm not going to name names, because that's not fair either. But I remember, and I know who was good to me and who wasn't, and I will, along with any great picture they've ever taken, in my mind, what came first was that they weren't very nice people, and I didn't want to be that person to squash somebody's dreams just because this is my spot. So this is my position, this is my town, this is why I work, you're coming into my house. I don't want to be that person. I want to be like, oh, you're the intern at whatever agency you are. Yeah, my name's Al. If you need anything, I'm around. If whatever. And little things like that go a long way. And I think I'll say it to anybody, and I think you've heard me say this: please and thank you go a long way. And that's pretty much the first thing I'll tell anybody who's taken my class, or, that gets you in the door at least. And I don't want to say I have a chip on my shoulder from those days, but I got something, I'm carrying around with me. I think that will continue, and I'm trying to make it a positive. I want to help. I want to help as many as I can, because I'm now, if you equate it to a track meet, I'm in turn 4 of my career, right? I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be 56 next week. So it's whatever time clock is ticking, it's ticking. I feel like I'll keep doing this till I can't, but I've had a good run so far, and I want to help as much as I can while I can, with anyone coming up now whoever's seeking the knowledge, I'll give it to them best I can, and that's how I feel about it. And I feel if I do that for them now, they might remember, oh, you know what? He wasn't mean to me. Why should I be mean to someone else? Right. As opposed to, you were treated badly as a young photographer. So that's what I'm going to do, because that's the way it is. And it was that way for so many times. Now the vibe in New York, at least where I work, we're a group now of people of my age, and we all went through that together, and nobody really wants to be that person again. That when we share that bond together. In fact, hopefully the younger people now in my town or wherever I work understands that, and I could give that vibe to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What's the one thing you want them all to know?
Well, I think to keep showing up, that is a factor that that will I think will stand the test of time. If you keep showing up, if you keep grinding, if you keep at it, success will come. And again, I might be repeating myself to you both, but I think you've heard me say I will take someone with an incredible work ethic, incredible drive to succeed, over someone with a giant amount of talent, but who's lazy and who won't put out what needs to be done in this industry. And you both know, and everyone out there who is in the game understands how really difficult this is, and how hard and what a grind this can be, and the physical and mental taxation that comes with committing to this profession, whatever type of photography you are. There's heavy gear involved. There's a lot of hustling. There's a lot of running up and down steps. There is a lot of long nights. There's strange hours that you work, strange off days. There's a lot of family to juggle. There's traveling involved. There's a stress of, people on your back trying to, make sure that you're doing your job. You want to do your job. You want to do the best you can. And sometimes it's just overwhelming, and I think the best thing you can do is to just keep showing up, get up off the floor. And I hate to sound like Rocky Balboa, but man, he kept getting up.
Yeah.
I know it's a movie, it's not real, but in a lot of ways, it's life lessons there. Just keep showing up, put your best self out there.
Yeah, you mentioned being like in turn 4 and toward the end, and you also mentioned earlier, that you just got done in the gym this morning and taking care of that part of it. So like, how does that? I guess what I'm getting at is like, how do you take care of yourself? How do you make sure that you're physically, mentally ready for the next job? And then what is coming up next for you?
The way I take care of myself, and look, I'm no, fitness guru. All I know is that if I keep moving, it's better for me, right? You develop certain things as you get older in this job, and, your knees aren't the same, your shoulder's not the same, your back's not the same, your elbows aren't the same. Things over the years just happen, right? I'm sure, I'm not sure how old you both are, but it's, you might feel things from whatever, I think the way to always combat that is to just keep moving, whether it's, some form of exercise, walking, whatever it is that, if you sit long enough, you're going to be stiff, and it'll carry with you to an event. So, preventative exercises, yoga stuff, things like that. I'm not asking you to, I'm not like lifting up a building every day. It's just stuff to keep me moving, to at least, like, I feel like I'm just moving. And then part 2 of your question is, I forgot what you asked. Part 2 was,
Oh, I was gonna ask what's up next. You alluded
Oh,
to
what's
being
next?
gone in March.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of local in February, and then once next week comes, I have a fight in Puerto Rico, and then I come back, and then I go to a rodeo in Texas, and then I come back, and then I go to a tennis tournament in Miami, and that's my March, pretty much said and done.
Jeez.
Next thing you know,
Yeah.
it's baseball season, and whatever else happens, and we'll see in April. Got a couple things lined up, and before you know it, the summer will be here, and Olympic
Hmm.
trials happen, the Olympics happen, and U.S. Open tennis happens. So there's a lot of stuff happening this year that'll keep me busy, and just still trying to squeeze in photo ideas and photo projects, and getting more involved in learning how to. I mean, really green with this, but learning how to do video. And man, I'm so behind on this that I gotta try and figure it out. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
So I guess there's a question. So um, I just had a brain fart, but well, you've like I know this last year specifically. I noticed because I know like doing the social media stuff. Sometimes I get stuck in the green room. I don't have the opportunity to always see everything. But I feel, or at least 2 years ago with Janiqua's class, like you showcase video with Savannah Bananas.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share what that experience is like doing the video stuff, and where would you eventually like to take it? What's your end goal for what you want to do with your video work?
As far as I'm concerned, trying to learn how to be uh, proficient in video is another tool in my tool belt. I was explaining to my class yesterday, actually. My daughter just got moved in with her into an apartment, and she got all this IKEA furniture. And I'm just the worst, but I spent like 4 hours putting a dresser together with her, and I want to throw myself out of a window, right? By the end of it, right? I
Mhm.
thought it would take an hour. It was like 4 hours later. I'm still screwing these things together. But I was telling the team, my class, I had a screwdriver, I had a hammer, I had this, I had that. Those are my tools to create this dresser. I go, your camera is your tool. I go, you got to build as many tools when you get out there into the real world, because the more tools you got to use, the better off, the more attractive you're going to be. So in my mind, everyone's coming out of school and they're all like video, social media. They're all on it. They're all getting these social media jobs. There's all these phone people now, and I don't mean to belittle them, but I call them phone people because that's what they are. They got phones and they run around with phones and they do all this. But those are full-time jobs for the teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing that, and maybe that's the new in on how to get into this industry, right? At first, I was like, oh my God, I'm finished. This is over. Everybody, the phone people are here. It's happening. They're to the left of me, to the right of me. And I'm like, but wait a minute, maybe they're onto something. The phone people are like young people coming out and they're working. And I see that not like they're like not working on it. They're working, but they have their phones. And then maybe they'll move on to, I don't know,
Hmm.
photography or whatever the next step is. So be it. If that's your in now, go be that. Go get
Go
in
be
that
phone guy.
industry. Maybe a phone person. I don't know what the correct uh,
Terminology.
I love it.
sorry, but
We're gonna make a T-shirt.
Yes. Be a phone person.
but please don't take it like I'm making fun. Like
No, no,
No, no,
no.
I
no, no.
am I am just an older person trying to keep up, right? So in my
Yeah.
I
mind,
love it.
that's how I see it. So okay, so now I'm thinking, well, I better figure out how to do this. And Getty Images is also, they're expanding their horizons on trying to get us to use more video. And
Mhm.
again, it's always a little pushback, but the more I think about it, I was like, well, I better try to figure this out. And so uh, I'm lucky enough at this point in my career where they've been able to pivot me a little bit away from what I had been doing into now maybe more project based stuff. So that's maybe a little part of my job that I can dive into a little more. So, the
Hmm.
Savannah Banana thing was a natural thing for me because while it's well known, it's still uh, they do their own in-house stuff. It's not like on network television, so
Hmm.
something I could do video with without worrying too much about where the rights are. and they accepted me. They say, yeah, come on down. They want publicity. So, and it was a project I could work on. So it's not like it was a one event thing. It started in February and it went right through August. So anytime I had chance, I would just pop in and out of their world. And the other thing was, I was not only doing video, I was doing stills. So I was trying to do both. And, people tell me that's a killer. And yeah, I've suffered from that, right? I think I was able to balance it in the end where, all right, if I'm going to do this game, I'm going to concentrate mostly on video. If I'm going to do this game, all right, now I'm going to go back to stills. I tried to do both at first and I damn near killed myself. It was very hard. I actually fell down a flight of steps with video. And you ever see there's an old Sesame Street clip where this guy with a hat and he's carrying all these pies and he's singing,
and then they fly
12 coconut crusted cream pies, and he's walking down the steps and he just falls down the steps and all the pies fall. That was me. I had my video gimbal and I had my long lens and I'm trying to go down the steps. I slipped. I rolled down the steps, and when you're a photographer, first thing you do is you're trying to save the gear. So I just rolled down the steps and I took it, like I just cut every part of my body and I had to work. This is even before work started that night. And,
jeez.
I was like, God damn, I'm bleeding to death. And, I had to go right to my car again, and my elbow is cut. I have all these scars still from that, but I did, it's just like lesson learned, don't try and do everything at once. I was that guy with 10 pies in the air. So bad on me. But that's because I wanted to try and get it all in. I think the first lesson I learned is try not to do everything at once, and try and pick a project that, maybe you could work on more than once, and if you have a finite amount of time, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I learned the same exact lesson the hard way. I was trying to figure out how to do this video thing, and I had an idea, and I was trying to get ahead of, the other airman who was in the office with me. And so I had this idea, and we were going to do mission in a minute, right? So 60-second clips, and it was going to be video. But I had never really done it before, and they wouldn't give me permission to do it. So they sent me on a TDY. So I went up to Fort Drum, New York, and I was taking pictures of an exercise there. And so I started doing video too. And so I'm running around with the camera and the tripod, exhausted at the end of the day, fractured my pinky toe.
No.
It was a wild time. But I learned the same exact lesson. You cannot do it all yourself.
No.
You have to pick and choose which moments, and then you have to stick with that. But yeah, we're in the same boat. I feel your pain.
I think we're not alone, and and I think it's a learning curve for any photographer who's trying to keep up with the world today. And if you extend that and you just think of it as, well, this is a new tool, I want to learn it. YouTube's a great teacher. If you can't afford college or whatever, I can't tell you how much time I've spent on there looking at instructionals. And that goes for I've also picked up some drone, experience, working with drones, stuff like that. And again, far from being an expert, but another tool. I got another tool now, get your license, and now you can see things from above. And that's always intrigued me, and I was also telling my class yesterday, I would have these constant dreams of, being able to two things. I would have dreams, and I still do, of breathing underwater and flying. Like I would be able to just, if I concentrate hard enough, I could fly. Right. So one of the kids took a picture of a bird flying at sunset. Right. And I was just like, you know what? That reminds me of a dream I had the other day. I levitated and I was able to fly. So part of that, why I don't dream so much about those anymore, is because I do underwater work, and because now I can fly a drone and I can see the world like a bird sees the world. And that's how I see things. It's like, it's beautiful to be able to have another angle, be somewhere where you cannot physically be, at that particular time. That's the beauty of photography. That's the beauty of creating. That's the beauty of being able to take an idea that's in your head and it's driving you crazy at night. And you wake up and you're like, I wish I could do this from whatever angle. How do I do this? Well, get a drone license, understand how to do this, learn what's safe and what isn't safe, and learn ins and outs and blah, blah, blah. Then go out and do it, and then see where you go from there. That's part of learning. Same thing with video. I'd love to figure out, why is my sound not working? I don't understand this microphone stuff. Why is everything so shaky? Because I tend to move 100 miles an hour wherever I go. My kids call me Flash Dad, right? So it's like a name that they call me, because when I get my mind focused, I'm there, I'm gone, I'm somewhere else. I'm at the airport, I'm running, even on vacation, if we're like, I'm the one with all the suitcases, I'm the one. You ever see on TikTok, they do the dad, the dad compilation of getting to the airport at 5 a.m. when the flight's at 11. That's me. Getting to the airport, checking all the bags, making sure that they're all, you got the air tags on everything. That's me. We all have enough food, buying enough water for everyone. Like we're going to be stranded for 40 days and 40 nights. That's me. I'm that guy. I am Flash Dad. I am the guy who runs 100 miles an hour everywhere, no matter what I do. There is no relaxation, and it's for better or worse. That's my life. It's crazy. So yeah. But have as many tools as you can in your pocket. I think that's basically where we're going with this.
No, that's perfect. I want to share with our listeners too. Don't have any fears. We're going to have all the links below for the references. The Savannah Bananas. You get to see all their spectacular dances and their entertainment they put on, courtesy of Al's work. So be sure that you check for that in the description when we do have this posted. I know we've had you for a while. I know we have two more questions for you.
Yeah, I've got time.
Go ahead.
I've got time.
Okay.
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm really okay. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, perfect. Well, a question I have for you that I'm curious, because you've witnessed and you've experienced so much. And I'm curious, has there ever been an event that if you could go back and spin the wheel of time that you haven't attended that you would go to?
Yeah, I mean, another thing I daydream about is having a time machine in my closet where I can just get the time machine out and go places and photograph it again. But I there's not even a hesitation. If I had an event that I wanted to go back in time to, or go to the future, it would be back in time to March 8th, 1971. And that was the day Muhammad Ali fought Joe Frazier in the fight. They just built it called The Fight. And I could spend another 2 hours as to why. But short story, two undefeated heavyweight champions. One, Muhammad Ali was a polarizing figure, and for those who don't know, Google him. Joe Frazier, another one, for totally opposite reasons. There was a lot of different camps of who and why and where and how. We are rooting for this champion, and it was time, like the world stopped. It was one of those events where the world stopped for a night. New York City was the shining star of the world for one night, and Madison Square Garden was the playground. And celebrities of all shapes and sizes, including Frank Sinatra, showed up at ringside to be the photographer for Life magazine. Imagine I'm on the ring next to Frank Sinatra. I think I was 3. I was 3 years old when this happened, but knowing what I know now and all the stories and being able to talk to, some of the photographers that were there, it was magical, and the top celebs, the politicians, the gangsters, like they all came to see this event, this, and it didn't disappoint. It exceeded expectations. If you think about it, I mean, you watch that fight, and they have it now on 4K. Like they redid it, and it's beautiful. It's an incredible dance of violence, and they left a piece of themselves in the ring that night that would never be able to take him back again. Like each fighter left a little bit more damaged, right? So I don't want to say like that's great. I mean, there's something tragically beautiful about that. That what made me think, what have I done to sacrifice so much of myself to be able to put that much energy into one thing? Maybe a whole career's worth of work, has left me a little damaged. But for one night, these guys were the top, the top of the world, both giving their all. And although there was a winner that night, it was Joe Frazier. Were there really any losers that night? I mean, Muhammad Ali became a sympathetic hero in defeat that night, and people chose sides for whatever reason. And for me, while I admired Muhammad Ali 100%, I happen to side a little bit more with Joe Frazier. His humbleness, his hard work ethic, maybe related a little more to me. So I think, early as a young child growing up and listening to him talk, and, while Muhammad Ali was funny and all that stuff, he did make me laugh, and was prolific in so many things. He's changed so many people's lives, and especially in his later years, you look back on that fight, and I wish I was there. I think about it now, like right this second. I wish I had
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
gear I have now. Like imagine, and I think I'm like, I can go in my time machine and somehow have my name on
Hmm.
ringside and pop in just before that. Nobody will see me. Like I have these visions of me going, nobody's going to see me. I'll just be there as soon as round one starts, and I'll have all my up-to-date camera gear, right? And using my digital, nobody alone. Or if I'm invisible, photographing the fight. Like that would be another thing. I wish it could be time machine and invisible. So I can be invisible on the ring and be able to photograph the fight, then go back in the time machine, go, transmit
Hmm.
and like make believe, like have whatever pictures I can get with today's cameras and stuff. Imagine that. It would be like amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
That was gonna be my follow up. Was like, would you shoot it in digital or
No.
would you shoot
Yes.
it? Yeah.
No. I would bring my, whatever I have in my closet over here. I would go poof, backpack, whatever, time machine, March 8th, 1971. Bing, and you get the flux capacitor, you just like take off, and you go in the DeLorean and you're like, there you
I
go,
feel like I feel like you keep going back. I feel like you do it that way. You do it in you film. You video it one time.
Maybe.
Like
Yes. Yeah. Like I just, there's so many. Oh, there's been documentaries on it. My God, I just watched again When We Were Kings, which isn't about that fight. It's about the Rumble in the Jungle with Ali
Hmm.
and Joe Frazier, right? So that was a whole different story, right? But man, again, I'm like, whoa, geez, if I could have gotten a time machine and gone to Zaire and photographed that, or I don't know, that's the one. I mean, I could name them. Let's be honest, Miracle on Ice. Like if you think of
Oh
a million
yeah.
things you
Yeah.
can go to, Jesse Owens, racing for America, Joe Louis fighting Max Schmeling. You can go on and on, guys. I mean, you must have your own events,
Hmm.
and then for those who are conflict photographers or political photographer or entertainment, they can go a million ways with that. But man, you could just daydream forever about what you would love to photograph in another time frame. That would be my number one, no doubt, no doubt.
For me, as a Lions fan, it would be going back to when they won a championship. Since we haven't won a Super Bowl, I think it was
With Bobby Lane,
1957. I
Bobby
think
Lane.
1957. I think. If I'm right, it was before it was called the Super Bowl. I mean,
Mm.
so obviously, I mean, this year has been an incredible year of sports for Detroit fans, getting as far as we have. It's almost, in proxy when Stafford won with the Rams, it was like a Super Bowl for us as well. It's
Yeah.
been a drought, but like you talk about leaving it all and giving it all, and like as you reflect on like what you shared, what you've given, like I feel like you're not at the anchor point of the race, in my opinion. I feel like, and more at most you're the third leg, not the anchor.
Thanks.
But when it gets to the point to where when you want people to look at what you've contributed to this art, to photography, to the community as a whole, what do you want them to walk away with?
Oh, that's a big question. I think the most important thing is that I was all right. That I was a nice enough guy. It means a lot to me that people have a good feeling. If they walk away or if they're just thinking about an experience with me. I believe I got plenty of flaws, and I think we all do. But I want to try and be positive. And I think I could walk away and people will say, well, he worked hard. He was able to give it his best, and whatever pictures fell, they fell. Whatever fell on, whatever comes out of it, that's a bonus for me. But there are days I work harder than ever and come away with nothing, and there are days where I'm like, geez, I don't feel like I worked that hard, but I had a great day. So that to me is, as long as I'm putting in the 100% as long as I can for as best time as I can, that's most important to me. I think how people think of me, that he gave his best.
It's beautiful. I love that. And I know I want to pass the last question off to Janiqua because I just want to be able to observe because this is one of my favorite questions to sit back and listen to because it's always so interesting to me. But Janiqua, I will give you the torch and I'm just going to grab my popcorn and
All right.
observe.
So speaking of like giving your best or seeing the best, I'm curious as to what is your favorite photo, like your all-time favorite photo. Whenever you think about it, like that is the photo, the photograph, and it can be one that you've taken or one that you've seen, but just one that is your favorite.
Uh, well, which are you asking? That I've seen or that I've taken?
I'll
Well,
take both.
both.
I'm greedy, so I'll ask for
I
both. But
I mean, if you're asking me what maybe my favorite that I've taken, I I would I'd feel weird about saying it's my absolute favorite because maybe I put more time into certain things. But I'll give an example of two pictures maybe. One was sport related and one not sport related. Maybe almost, it'll be 10 years ago this year. Odell Beckham Jr. for the Giants was a rookie, and he was playing receiver, and he made this catch with one hand. It started a revolution actually amongst receivers today, which you see happen fairly frequently. People making one-handed catches, but still, his catch was pretty special. And at the time, the announcers even said, if you look at the YouTube clip, that was probably the greatest catch ever made in the NFL history. I was lucky enough to be there that night, and I planned to be because of the stadium's proximity and how it's laid out, not very background friendly, right? So when I say that, I mean there's a lot of stuff in the background. The stands don't come down to the bottom of the field like some of the older places do, and instead they've got a lot of LED screens as a background, which is tough. And there's a lot of security guards and yellow vested people at the time, and other photographers shooting sideline to sideline. So it's messy, is what I was saying. So I tend to place myself in the back of the end zone and being able to see the team as a background. So preface it by saying that, and just kind of wait and see, when they get past the 50-yard line. So I was ready, like I had my stuff ready in case something happened. And sure enough, from their 50, they launched a bomb, to Eli Manning through to Odell Beckham, and he made this remarkable catch. And I was able to see it from the get-go. I remember looking for him because, again, you go back to your first part of this interview where you're repetitive. So you see the same team, and he was hot. He was coming on. Nobody knew him really yet. Locally, though, he was starting to get steam, and he was making some pretty good catches, and he was getting open. And in my mind, I was going, "Where's Beckham?" And I was like, "Okay, there he is." And you think all these things in your head, and he launched, and Eli would be known to throw, like launch the ball every now and then, and he did. And it was a slow motion play for me in that I actually started with a long lens and was able to switch mid lens because at the bottom I don't always shoot through the eyepiece. Sometimes I pick my head up to see what's happening, especially if it's far away from me, to at least know how the play's developing. I saw right away him and the defensive back running downfield together, and I thought, this is going to him. Went to a shorter zoom and waited, and I just watched them come into frame and just shot the whole sequence. And I don't think before or since, I mean, there hasn't been many times where every frame was pretty good. There's like a 12 frame sequence of him making the catch. There's one moment which I liked. He flipped over backwards and he fell like right in front of me. The team jumped him, and I went to my wide angles. So I used all three lenses at once. That moment
That's
for me,
incredible.
that
yeah,
photo for me did a lot for me, and I happen to like it. Is it my favorite? I think it's good. I like it, and it stood the test of time, I think, as well. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I had the time during COVID where a Getty Images had gave us the option at our comfort level to help the news department. So Getty it's the type of agency that, you're the arms of Getty in the editorial world are news, sport, entertainment. That's how we break up. Yeah. So that's saying that. And so I'm in the sports end, right? Other agencies, you have to do pretty much everything, I think, which is pretty normal, but we're a little bit different that way in that we do. But they asked us to jump into news if we felt comfortable. And I kind of did. I kind of embraced it. And I thought to myself, all right, well, now another challenge. One thing I did do was call my dear friend John Moore, famous photographer at Getty, with us now, and he is a person I call upon a lot of times because he's pretty smart and he's project based. And he said to me, "Al, you empty your phone book, every last contact." And I'm like, "Wait, you mean like my family too?" He's like, "Everybody, pull out all the stops. You're alone. You're a lone wolf. You're out there. It's the Wild West right now." And so I did, and I remember, calling my family, saying, "Hey guys, have you got any ideas?" Blah blah blah. Anyway, it was Memorial Day weekend. I was at a graveyard. I found myself at a graveyard, a military graveyard, and I was just kind of hovering, looking for people and trying to respect them, paying respects to those we lost. And I remember feeling very uncomfortable because this is not my world, and I actually would approach people and say, "Hey," I go, "Would you mind if that's how, can I document you paying respects to your loved one?" And everybody was like, "Absolutely, no problem." It was a good experience. So that was how my day started. And then my sister called me and said, "Hey, Al, my husband's family, my husband's mother and father hasn't seen the kids in 3 months, and they want to come over, and we're going to be in the backyard." Now think, guys, this is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think the vaccine was there yet. No, it wasn't. There was no vaccine.
No.
It was May. I was very nervous, and we were out, and I'm like telling my sister, "So we're going to be outside, and what are they going to do? Like say hi from across the backyard?" And I'm thinking photographically, how's this going to work? She says, "Well, he kind of went to the hardware store and bought this painter's sheet, and it was a clear, like if you go to the hardware store and you got the clear plastic cheap painting
Mm-hmm.
thing you put over the furniture. So it's translucent." And she said to me, he put this clothespin device that you can hang clothes on, but we're going to hang the sheet up, and we're going to have his mom and dad stand on one side and the kids, and we'll just hug each other. And that might be fun, to do something like that. And I thought, all right, I'll come by after. I'm like, I'm at the graveyard. I'm leaving now. And then whatever, coming over 2:00, I went over there and I saw the setup, and I was like, I guess this might be kind of cool. If they hug, they might make shapes, in their faces. And they came over, and I just thought it would be like, "Ha ha, good to see you." But the second and I had like one wide lens with me, it was probably the easiest picture I ever took in my life. And that's why I'm saying some days I'll put a lot into it, and some days I'm like, I just walk in. And so I kind of walked in on this one, and just in my mind pictured what might happen. And it was better than I thought, because the grandmother, got so emotional so quick. The minute she touched her son across the sheet, so they met in the middle of the sheet, and she hugged him. And all the curves and the shadow, the way the light was that day, was kind of hard diffused, and so you could still see textures of shadows, and their faces pushed up against the plastic. So their faces almost made some kind of mask, I guess. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
some of them had sunglasses on, and it got emotional, and she wouldn't let go of anybody, and it was crying. And immediately I'm like, oh boy, this is different than I thought. And I'm like, this is getting, and you could feel like their hands curled up and around the plastic. And it lasted for about 40 minutes maybe of this happening. Each grandchild, each son, each daughter each in-law would just go and hug the parents, especially the mother, the grandmother. Whatever. I shot a whole sequence of it, and one kind of hit, like that's the one that kind of hit, and it went around the world, similar to the Beckham shot. So it was two opposite spectrums,
Mm-hmm.
and I was happy with that one too. So these are the long answers to my two best favorite photos, two different worlds. One was sport, entertainment sport, and one was like real world stuff going on. And I think I'm happy because during COVID, especially the early part, I didn't want to be the one running to the hospital, photographing death and suffering. I wanted to show, joy and emotion and happiness and the good that's coming out of this. And again, kind of how I kind of want to, things that make me happy. This made me happy. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I remember calling the picture desk person at the time. It was Michael from Baccieri from Eddie Adams Workshop, and he works at Getty as well. And said, Mike, I think it's hard to describe what I'm about to send you. I go, don't put it out yet. Look at it first and tell me if it's worth anything. Because even then, I'm like, I have no idea what this is going to be.
Yeah.
He's like, well, what happened? And I kind of described it. I'm like, how do we even caption this? He goes, we'll work on it. Just send it. And then I send the pictures, and then he calls me back at home, and I'm like, hey, what's up? What do you think? And it's quiet. I'm like, hello? And he goes, this is good. It's good. Like that. And I went, it's good. Like, you can put these out. He's like, yeah. This is good. It's going to be okay. He goes, let's get the names right, caption. And I don't know, that year it was like, I was happy because I was able to transition into news, something I don't do, and and then if you ask me what my favorite photograph of all time, look, I'm going to be in a couple of places here, but I mean, and it's a popular photo, but look, and maybe because I've gotten to know him and he's become my friend, kind of, is Neil Leifer's picture of again, I'm going back to boxing, Ali and Sonny Liston, where he's over him with his hand defiantly, over him with Liston on the ground. And moment in time, again, if you think about it, to anyone out there, the work that went into that photo and the luck involved and being in the right spot and the story behind it. And that's a whole podcast in itself. If you ever get Neil Leifer to talk to you, please ask him that question, and
if you want to introduce, if you want to help coordinate and set that up, 100%. Even have you join in, and that would be an incredible opportunity.
Oh my God. But short story is like, it's on strobes that they used to put up in the ceiling. The photographer who was older at that time was their boxing photographer, air quotes. And he said, I'm going to be here. It was one of those good old boys, old school. I'm going to be here and you're going to be there. This is where I want to be, and you're way over there. That's your position. And Neil's like, all right, whatever. So, you take any opportunity given to you. And the funny thing is, he took the picture, right? And you look at the picture and you look between Ali's legs over Sonny Liston. And in that picture is the Sports Illustrated photographer, like with his eyes wide open, like, oh shit, I just missed that picture, right? As Ali's doing this. Go back and look, and you'll see between Ali's legs, his name is Herbie Scharfman. So Neil loves, he's told the story a million times. I've heard it now a million times, but I love every time. It's like the first time, because I'm just sitting there going, where's my time machine? I want to go back and go,
right. I want to watch that play out.
God damn it. Where is my time machine? So, but man, that's my favorite picture. And I still like if you watch that on YouTube, that moment, when I tell you it's this quick that he does this, and you see the flash go off, you can see the moment Neil took the picture, and it's one, because it's like flash. You got to count to the recycle. 1, 2, 3, flash. 1, 2, 3, and that's back then I think, and even now, like you stroke basketball and hockey, is like usually you count in your head, poof, flash goes off, 1, 2, 3, recycle, then you can shoot. So he had to wait like. My God, I mean, did that on film, on 2 1/4 camera. It's like all these things that digital
the variables.
Like you could nail a sequence of that, and no problem now. But to appreciate what he actually had to go through to get that photograph, and to be, he'll tell you, luck was involved, but you make your own luck, right? How many times you heard that, right? He's was ready for the moment. Not only that, back then everybody smoked in the arena, so all the blue cast behind it, that's all that you can't be recreated. That the rings back then were white, there was no advertising, nothing. So it's so raw and full of emotion. And the funny thing is, that photograph never won any contests, barely made it. I don't even think it made Sports Illustrated the next week. let alone whether it wound up as a little picture later on. I don't know when it gained steam. Maybe when Ali started to get really, like, after he dodged the draft and he and then he got suspended for 3 years, and he came back as stronger than ever. Maybe that photo, because it's so defiant, spoke to a lot of people. And I think it gained steam later, which is strange because usually photos make a big hit and then you get recognized right away. Neil's picture never even won a contest, which I cannot believe. I was like, he told me that. I'm like, what do you mean? That wasn't a World Press, or, that didn't win POI or, whatever, he's like, no, never even sort of light a day, barely, I think. Wow. So that's a strange one, right? If you think about it,
100%.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, that's what you talk about, luck and even going, I think I've heard you share about the 6 Ps. That what? Proper planning prevents poor performance. Is that what it is?
No, it's close. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. Yeah, absolutely. I still believe in that, and I get caught on that too sometimes. Again, we're all humans, so one of those P's, if you don't cover that, it could catch you later on. Yeah, you've got to try and be ready for everything best you can. It's always best to prepare, to be ready, to not get caught with your pants down, so to speak. It just makes your job easier. You want to just be ready. Don't just walk into an assignment. Understand what you're getting yourself into. Things like the weather, right? I was at an event this weekend that was an outdoor hockey game over at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and I knew I'd be out there for like 5 hours 4 or 5 hours. It's cold. It's February in New York. Be ready. Got the heaters, get everything, I got like this little heated vest that my little body can, it lights up my whole body, and it makes things so much easier. It helps get me through the day. And then one less thing to think about. Cold hands, these are your tools, your fingers, you want to make sure your fingers are right. So whatever the environment you're working in, you want to make sure you're prepared for that. If it's a mountain you got to climb or ski down, be ready, get ready, train. You just don't walk into photographing downhill ski racing. That's hard, and can't just walk into that. I'm sorry, unless you're going to the finish line and that's your job. I shouldn't say don't just walk in. You could walk into the finish line and sit at a finish line spot. Yeah, of course you can. But if you think you're going to go up on the mountain and get these guys going 80 miles an hour, and not have to prepare yourself for that, you're crazy. You're going to get hurt and you can possibly die. So it's very serious when I'm telling you to be prepared, whatever the situation.
That's perfect.
You guys would know. I mean, you guys you must be so prepared in the military. It's like, my God, I can't even imagine your world. Like, it's so daunting for me. And so I have so much respect in that way, and that's your career as well. And my goodness, and now you could take pictures on top of that. How impressive!
It's incredible. It's an incredible responsibility. I know that we feel and we share together, and that's why I love the Eddie Adams workshop. That's why I know why we both love it, is because it's such a different. It's so separated, and because we're on the umbrella of the government, it's one of these things that's different and harder, but also easier. So it's like, whether we have a bad assignment, it's not that we're not going to get hired again because we're under contract for 4 to 6 years. But like, speaking to the young professionals, seasoned professionals at the workshop, like we talked about, you're judged by your last photo. Like, that could determine, if you're going to get hired again, or what, how your future plays out. And so, and by being able to be exposed to that as military photographers, it brings us such additional wealth of knowledge to bring back to our own community, so we can better educate our artists, our photographers, our videographers, to appreciate what they have. Because sometimes it can be harder when it's one of those things when you're under this umbrella of security. And we 100%, we're constantly training to, regardless if we're going to deploy to a combat environment, or, for instance, like recently, a couple of years ago, I did my NATO deployment out to Bosnia, where it's pretty safe, but again, it's a different culture, it's a different environment, it's different opportunities and experiences, but you have to be prepared for that, because like we know, for the Dayton Accord Agreement, when there was the genocide that was in Bosnia back in the 90s, it's still it's very safe now, but there's still different. There's a division within the country that some don't like Americans. seconds. And so we have to be prepared for that. We have to be equipped to respond to that, to where, everyone at the end comes out alive, and you're just doing your part to contribute to the country, to try to make it a better place. But yeah, I don't want to hijack it. But
it's interesting. It's very interesting to hear that perspective. It's amazing, very humbling. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much you have to be ready for and stuff, and I think that's where younger photographers kind of get lost, is that they think some of the smaller things that we have to do, like taking pictures of commanders' retirements or stuff like that, they think it doesn't matter, and it does, because all of it is training, all of it is helping. All of it is helping you recognize moments,
and it's part of the grind. A lot of things with the, I hate to do this, but back in my day, but please have patience. Please enjoy the process. Don't be in a rush, right, young people? This profession takes years to perfect, and still learning, right? Still trying to figure stuff out. Just appreciate it, and be patient. Just keep showing up is all I can say, and it'll come, and accept the assignments that are maybe deemed a little bit lesser, but you'll learn from it. Like you said, a general's retiring. You know what? That general gave his life to America, and show some respect, do the best you can on that retirement. That's how I would see it, even if an athlete retires, that athlete gave his or her body to your entertainment. Granted, there's money involved in all that, but they deserve every dollar they get. And I don't care who you are or how you fight or how you, get the money. You're the one who's putting yourself out there on the line. You're the general that's, that's putting your neck out there for America. And it's a given. You better show respect, and you better take your best pictures during that, retirement ceremony, because that is not something to just go poo away. That's important to a lot of people. So anyway, I admire that. That's pretty cool that you guys give 100% into things like that too.
Wow. No, I couldn't think of a better message to end this on. And again, there's so much. Again, I want a shout out to the phone people. Again, I don't mean that.
Don't take offense. I said it the wrong way. But,
no. Well, I think we took it. We didn't take it. No, we didn't take it as a bad whatsoever. I just love it, and I want to apply that into my life when I speak to my daughter now. Because it's
a new opportunity. Is all I'm saying. I bet you. Yes. I bet you it's a good in. Maybe.
Phone people is inclusive, because they could be influencers, they could be social media managers.
I guess
phone
that's what
people,
I mean.
It's all encompassing. Yeah. Right.
I'm a phone person for the workshop. That's what I mean. So it's not. It's I don't want to get anyone. I don't want to get that confused. It's a positive. It's a positive term. I just love it because I've never used it, and I want to steal that from you and apply it to my life.
There's no patent on it. It's yours. Yeah.
But no, Al, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. And you know what? We're all phone people at heart. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we're always on the phone. So we're all phone people, and you know what? Good for them for figuring out how to make money on being a phone person. I mean, they're making more than all three of us combined, some of these people, right?
Absolutely.
I'm the one who's like, I'm the guy who's like a dummy. Like, you didn't figure it out, dummy. These phone people are making millions. So good for you. You figured it out. Good job.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
I want to keep doing what I'm doing. If we could work together, I bow to the phone people. It's you, man.
Right.
You're the next one.
Well, before we let you go, is there anything, any last thing you'd like to share?
I would just like to, again, say thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I love talking about pictures. I love talking about things that interest me like this. I love fantasizing about going back in time. Like all the subjects you brought up has been so much fun. I love the Eddie Adams workshop. I as long as they'll have me, I will be happy to do the best I can for them. And and apply. Don't forget to apply. Anyone out there? I think applications open soon, and keep an eye out. It's a beautiful experience that I'm lucky enough to have had a couple of times to attend, which has been really a joy for me, and I learn every time I'm out there anyway. So it's great. Thank you.
Beautiful, perfect. couldn't have said it better. But again, no, thank you, Al. Thank you
Welcome.
for today. Again, don't forget everyone, please and thank you. But outside of that, I hope you have a great weekend and enjoy the rest of your free time before you get back at it.
Thanks.
Yes,
So,
and
and you
enjoy
too.
dinner with your family tonight. So.
I will. I will definitely. I always do. It's fun. Well, this has been fun. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
No,
I'll
thank
see
you.
thank
you.
you, Al.
Appreciate it.
Let me stop the recording.